early age, like if you were making art and, being just this version of Emily, it just hasn't really changed that much is what it seems like. You just have more direction and you've matured a lot, but it's, you've stayed true to your character.
The maturity is debatable.
I know. I wish I was more mature.
No, listen, I know a lot of people that work their ass off.
Yeah.
Emily is always grinding.
Yeah.
Like literally always grinding. Like there's always like how many miles a year do you travel?
A lot, but I think
lot.
it's never a grind because I love being a creative person.
Well, you like your grind. When I say grind, I mean like working.
Oh,
like
sorry,
you're
yes.
working,
Yes, I'm always working because nothing brings me, sorry, surfers, nothing brings me as much joy as being a creative person.
Yeah. Well, it's a mild...
That's so intense to say because it's like sex, holidays, surfing. It's just like love.
You love your job. You're lucky.
Well, I love the
process.
The process of creativity.
Absolutely. Well, it's like...
All the guys I have sex with are going to be like, what?
It's just
kidding.
They weren't.
I'll kill them. On the way home.
They weren't creative enough in the bedroom.
Yeah, they weren't.
Clearly. No, but it is like that creative process can be very addictive.
Totally addictive.
Dude, like I do 2 podcasts, and like this is a weekly thing. Like this is a creative outlet. It's so enjoyable to put something out there, especially with your own personal touch, and to think of new ways of doing something, or especially when you're not doing something formulaic, like that is.
Or like when you're in the bedroom with the guy who's never met you before, and you break out like some Frank's Red Hot and a whip. And you're like, how creative are you? And he's like, whoa.
Greg, everyone's going to come up to me and be like, was the Frank's Red Hot story true? Because that's the one thing they're going to remember from this podcast. And it didn't even come from my mouth.
She did work in latex.
Yes.
See, there you go.
When I was 16, crying every day.
You got to have your creative outlets.
But I think some of the best work I've made around Montauk is like, some of the work I've made around Montauk is my best because it's so relatable. I made these videos over COVID where I like filmed myself every day, like walking. So you see my the colors of my leg changing and like all the different outfits and the color of Montauk changing. And then while you see me walking, you see what I'm thinking about over COVID. Yeah. And then I made one where I filmed the Ditch Plains car park, aka my favorite place on the planet, every day. So you see like the seasons change and the car park get busier. It's like empty, empty, empty. Then the cars start, and then the flag goes because it's so windy.
Let's talk about your family for a second.
Oh, Jesus! I'm deflecting. I'm filibustering emotional conversation.
Well, no, it's not emotional.
You didn't escape.
You're like who's the creative? Was it your mom? Was it your dad?
Both
was your grandfather? Like grandma? Like
all of them.
The whole family.
Yes, all little nut job creatives. My father was in the army, but he was a photographer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was a sergeant, but his passion was photography. And my mom is and was an artist, but she was a teacher. So we have always done like drawing competitions and have always really been involved in photography. Even as a young kid, my dad would like send me to work with his photographer friends. Yeah, so I've always been around creative people.
I want to hear about your dad with his shotgun.
Oh, yes. I've been thinking about guns a lot recently. I have a new friend that is obsessed with guns. And I always think about it. I've been thinking about it a lot because my father really wanted boys. Yeah. And he got 2 girls. And, I'm like a little bit of a sissy. And so he would make us go in the garden and shoot shotguns.
Really?
Yeah. And it'd be like every time we'd shoot, I'd scream. And it's funny because now I've just made this little film about duck hunting with my friends in Montauk, but then they stopped taking me because every time they shot the gun, I'd scream. And they'd be like, look, duck hunting season is too short to fuck it up like this. So, yeah, I'm very interested in guns, like the wood and the metal and the power, the emotional power around them, let alone the kind of force of the bullet. But, yeah, I'm absolutely terrified of them. All the girlfriends go to bachelorette parties to shoot guns in Vegas. I'm the one that sits outside. I'm I'm going to keep gambling. You guys
they go and shoot guns and then have drinks with penis straws.
I know.
Yes.
We're so crazy.
I was just leave me with the penis straws.
Get on around the blowjobs over here. No hands, anybody.
Yeah, they all shoot pink ARs. So that's, I have a funny relationship with guns. But my dad was desperate for a boy, so he was always like, "Hey, girls, we're gonna go and shoot guns."
Now, are you the older or the younger of the girls?
The oldest.
You're the oldest. And you have,
Team leader.
You have one little sister?
One sister, and then he had two more that we're really close to.
Gotcha.
I just hired her for. I just shot some commercials in England, and I hired my little sister, and she went from like the first shot of the day she was cleaning goose shit out of the shot, and the last shot of the day I let her call action.
Wow.
And I was like, you just got the fastest career jump from like goose shit cleaner to director in
How
like 8
old is
hours.
she?
She's 21.
Gotcha.
And you will meet her because she's going to come and work at the Crow's Nest. Fingers crossed.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Is she showing interest in wanting to do film as well?
No.
No.
No, she's like, ugh.
She's going to have a fun summer if she works at the
So,
Crow's
yeah.
Nest. The
Yeah.
place
COVID sorts
goes
stuff
off
out.
in the summertime.
Yeah.
You're going to have to sort her out with some fake visas and
That's the issue why she didn't come last summer. But yeah. Any more about my family? You haven't made me cry yet. Go on, try harder.
I'm not going to.
No, then you'll ask me about my feelings or how I feel about something, and then I'll start crying.
I'm not going to hijack Tyler's. He's got a whole list of questions
No,
here.
these are just guardrails here.
All right, cool.
The conversation's flowing.
Let's pull the pin on the grenade then and get into it.
I think guardrails is the wrong thing because guardrails means the thing the other side is probably not good.
Oh, no.
I think you should call it.
You know what they are? They're markers.
Yeah, let's call it markers. Yeah.
They're markers in case the guest is shit.
Yes.
I have something to fall back on.
Well,
Otherwise,
if you were shit, I came
You
with
came
20 bullet points.
I'm the only one who doesn't have any notes.
If
I'm
I
just
didn't
winging
like
it.
your questions, I was going to ask myself questions.
All right, what do we got on there?
Well, we wanted to talk about New York surfing.
Well, do we?
No, I don't.
You don't.
No, I do. I love surfing. I love it, love it, love it. It changed my life.
Did you know you could surf here when you came here?
Do you mean America or do you mean
In New York.
New York.
New York particularly.
Yes, because I moved. Basically, I started working on Wednesday, and then on Friday, I met the guy that swooped up all the interns and Jeffrey Epstein style part us in a Range Rover, except there wasn't a seat for me, so I got stuck in the trunk. I'm the only intern that survived, so not like literally. But then, yeah, oh my God, it was a bit Jeffrey Epstein.
It's a little bit Jeffrey Epstein.
Listen, when I look at my first years of like early 2000s in the New York art world,
there was some creepos.
there was some creepos. I didn't really mind it though, because I wasn't really creeped on that much.
Much.
Yes, I knew because
Don't
I got
be modest.
Yes. Then I went to East Hampton, and then we would come to Montauk and like watch the surfers. So I knew straight away there was surf, and I knew I was going to pick it up as soon as I like got out here, and I had lessons.
Yeah.
After the Indonesia experience, I was like, I'm going to learn to do this properly.
So you started spending summers in Montauk.
Oh well, he had the house all year round, so winters too.
When did you move in with Glenn Glasser?
Well, Glenn, remember, moved in with me because me and the guy had that house opposite Gurney's on Maple Street.
Ah.
Anyway, that's a bit inside baseball.
Okay.
And then Glenn and I rented the house in Culloden. Our friend. As soon as I moved to Montauk from East Hampton, I knew that I wanted my own house and I wanted to live there all year round. So I found a year-round rental.
What is it about Montauk for you that appeals to you? Like,
can I have like a few?
Can I have a few?
Can I have a few answers to that?
Yeah, let it rip.
No, you can only have one.
I don't.
One word. One word. Sum it up in one word. Montauk. No, of course, go for it. She's now trying to think of that one creative word.
I was going to say craziness. Whether I'm talking about the people, the weather, the parties, the wind.
Yeah.
And I just, I think it has a lot of energy, sometimes light, sometimes dark.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoy how it feels like you're surrounded by water. There's the phrase, they shook the tree and all the nuts swelled to Montauk, and I just really relate to that. Mm-hmm. I enjoy all the experiences that I have out there, good or bad. I could talk about Montauk forever. I think it's like the most incredible place.
It's an emotional roller coaster, Tyler.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it really runs the gamut of just laughing, crying, ripping your hair out.
Why is that, Pete? What do you think it is? Is it the relationships?
No, it's like Emily said, there's like a light and a dark side to the place. I mean, like, I remember,
Definitely a dark side to the place.
being out there, during the quarantine with my family and like going for a walk. And it was like, I think in the month of May in 2020, it was fucking like gray and cold as fuck every day. And I felt like I was living on the cover of a Black Sabbath album, like the world was in just chaos. And like Montauk, when the sun is out, and there's, not a wind howling at 30 miles an hour, it's beautiful. But it gets gray and dark and cold and raw a lot. And that energy it's got some darkness to it,
And I'm agree 1,000%. And then I'm doing a lot of like commercial fishing, especially over COVID when I wasn't really being a director so much. And that just opened me up to just different kind of relationships and friendships and experiences. And some of them were very dark. Some of them were very rewarding, but some of them were
there's
very
like there's almost like two cultures out there. There's like boat people, and then there's surfers. And a lot of times the surfer people don't interact with the boat people at all. There's a lot of like amazing boat people out there that are fishermen that are on their boats that are just amazing surfers and they've been out there a long time. But there's like this whole crowd of people that have been out there I've been out there 20 years.
Yeah.
I meet somebody new that's been there for 30 years that just, they hang out in the marina, like on their boat. So it's a whole different crowd of people.
I found from Montauk, for me, what I always loved about it is kind of, there's a bit of lore out there. Like there's a lot of history. There's all of these kind of, I don't want to say legendary tales, but like everything from like the Montauk Project, where like when I was like 14 or 15, my teacher gave me the book, the Montauk Project. Yeah, he's like, because I was telling him how I grew up going surfing out there. That was the first place I surfed. Technically was Ditch Plains when I was like 6 or 7. It's where my dad took me out. It was the weekend that my mom moved out of the house, and he took us surfing there.
Awesome.
And
so your mom could sneak out without you noticing?
Yeah, so he can give us something else, so she can move out. Yeah, we didn't have to watch that and like be traumatized by it. But so I've always gone out there, but I've always loved every time I go out there.
Wait. So when your parents got divorced, and your dad took you surfing in Ditch Plains,
my brother and I,
the weekend that your mom moved out of the house.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we had a much better memory of that time period, and like lo and behold, that's when I remember meeting Roger Fite for the first time, and like he had full on mustache and long hair.
He doesn't have a mustache and long hair anymore, but
no,
he's still a sweetheart.
Yeah, but it's like.
So when you come back to Montauk and you come back to Ditch Plains,
there's all sorts of memories tied up, you know, and so. I think memories there, but there's lore, right? Like,
well, if you're out there and you need a hug, Emily or I,
we're huggers. Me and Greg are huggers.
Down. Yeah.
No, I don't need a hug because it's like I go
I'm
out
gonna
there.
Give you one anyway.
I'm on another level. I'm always walking into the coves and just surfing alone most of the time. But
not me.
Not you.
Love the crowds.
You love the crowd.
I like the people too.
Me and Greg, we love it.
We chat everybody up. If you're out there, like we'll sandwich you and talk at you and distract you from getting waves. That's our strategy.
That is.
I'm not really out there to surf. I'm out there to just
socialize.
Well, just to I'm a pack animal. I get a kick out of people and conversation.
Depends on the waves. If it's like small, I'm all about the conversation. If the waves are good, I'm going to be much more like, don't talk to me. I need to get my waves. I need to.
That's just you, man. Well, I'm just out there to get weird.
I need to shred. I need to shred the gnar.
You need to go on holiday more, Tyler. Somebody clearly needs a surf holiday.
So have you ever heard the?
I surf so much. I'm like, whatever.
Do you know the story about how they used to have unsanctioned boxing matches at the dock?
No, let's
hear about that. Do you know this story?
That.
Do you know the story, Emily?
See, but this is what I'm talking about. Like, there's all these stories.
So here's a little bit of lore. Yeah. I love this story. So this is going back maybe like the late 70s, early 80s. The dock was basically the only bar in town.
Yeah.
And at that time, like there were no cops in Montauk. They were like in East Hampton, and it was kind of like the wild, wild west out there. And if you had beef with somebody that you either got into a fight with on a commercial fishing boat or in town, you'd go to the dock and you'd put your name up on a chalkboard. And it was like every other Thursday, twice a month, George had a boxing ring behind the bar, and you would go and put gloves on and you would beat the shit out of each other till you got it out of your system. And then you would go and get drunk with your friend at the bar.
Oh,
I mean, that's the kind of stuff that went down out there. And it was amazing, like. just squash
Imagine
it,
that happening now.
I would love for that to happen now.
I mean, there's enough fights between. I mean, it feels
the
like
water.
the 2021 version of that was the Memory Motel kids fighting the